about the quality of democracy and judiciary in Turkey, there is little in written. Now, there are solid analysis and suggestions made by an internationally acknowledged Turkish lawyer who wrote this book as a responsible citizen and an active member of civil society, Mehmet Gün has came a long way to be here. He's the son of a single mother in a remote mountain village of central Anatolia, who wanted his son to complete his education, at one point selling the family's only cow, and be a grand man, as it's said in Turkish language, meaning to have a certain place in society. He studied hard, overcame financial and social difficulties with perseverance, became a member of the Bar Association of Istanbul, established an international law firm under his name, spending years in institutionalizing the firm to become one of the few international scale law firms in Turkey. He's a leading founder of the Better Judiciary Association in Turkey, also being members of mainstream business organizations. My colleagues will provide his full bio following this meeting. But the point is, instead of dedicating his days and nights for years to complete this book and civil society activities, he could have enjoyed life and nobody would ask him to carry out such a study and write this book. Writing a book about the concept of better justice and better judiciary is a challenge in today's world, as we observe the debates in the United States, for example, but especially in Turkey, where we have more problems. Mr. Gün, why did you write this book?
Well, Murat, first of all, thank you very much for your kind introduction. Actually, my life story tells you why I wrote this book, but let me explain a little bit further. When I was turning 50 years of age, I was searching for my purpose for the rest of my life. Sitting down to write my professional biography for my firm's 25th anniversary helped me to identify it. I realized that I was really frustrated, and my frustration resulted from the failings of the judiciary. In almost all sizable cases that I took on, I put all my efforts, and logically I should have succeeded. The result was not proper. So I identified that this was a major problem for me to, resolve for the rest of my life. For my international exposure, I knew that the judiciaries in especially developed countries would provide a better service to their societies and strengthen their societies, and the difference was immense. Then I also realized that this country was being deteriorated by the judiciary's failings. And this country I love so much, and these people I love so much. So at that point, having found my purpose and realizing how bad it was for the country, I said, I cannot stop here. I cannot continue my life indulging it, but I have to do something to fix this problem. So that is the reason why I wrote this book, Murat.
That's a very good reason. The title of your book...
Let me just finish. I want to see Turkey transform through the rule of law and become one of the most advanced, prosperous nations in the country. And also, it will be very happy for me to see my country to contribute to the international community in these areas, if I can help with my society to the international committee for a better life, a better society.
A very good purpose, as I said. The title of your book, Turkey's Middle Democracy, evokes the economical concept of middle income, or rather middle income trap, as they call it. Do you see any correlation between the two? And are you talking about a similar trap, like middle economy trap, and middle democracy trap? Can we talk about a correlation like this?
Yeah, I think these are two traps happening at the same time in countries. Actually, it is not me that identified it. It is actually Turconfet who identified that Turkey being in the middle income trap was as a result of its middle level democracy. And the name and the term was invented by Turconfet. In fact, The book came about upon a request by Turconfed for me to write a democratization report. Just for the information of foreign audience, Turconfed is the Turkish equivalent of SME Europe. It is the largest voluntary NGO in Turkey. It covers all of Turkey with more than 250 business NGOs and more than 25,000 SMEs. The main message of the book is that to increase the GDP, Turkey needs to improve its middle democracy level to an advanced level. To me, what the middle democracy is, when the basic institutions of a democracy exist, but they do not function properly, to me it is middle democracy. When the institutions function properly or better, it is considered an advanced democracy. I believe, despite Turkey is backsliding a little bit in the recent years, Turkey is still a middle democracy, not a hybrid one. I think it would be inaccurate to call Turkey as a hybrid democracy. I agree with the economist description of hybrid democracy, where they say that the autocratic features occur together with the democratic features. However, these two does not necessarily mean that the country is a hybrid democracy. We need to identify the causes of the autocratic features. And to me, the way to identify it is dependent on the answer of these two questions. One is whether the ruler allows the judiciary to function in a limited way, or the other question, whether the failings of a judiciary allows the ruler to become autocratic. If the answer yes to the latter question, then it is still mid-level. But I must say, this is a big danger for all societies and all democracies. The line between the two is very thin, and very easily one country develop into one from the other. And every country should be aware of this one. I heard, for example, from the UK that Lord Kerr recently said, UK need judges to limit the executive. They have such a high reputation, but they are concerned about this, the ability of the judiciary. I believe the UK's judiciary will never allow the UK executive to become autocratic. However, if we ask the question for Turkey, for ourselves, we have to accept that the Turkish judiciary is currently unable to do so. Thus, we see very right opinions about Turkey becoming an autocratic country. And in a nutshell, to me, major determinant of a country's democracy level is actually the level and degree of independence and efficiency in function of their judiciary.
Yeah, that's clear actually, but it's very related to politics. Turkish democracy had a number of political problems, like coups and coup attempts, which had consequences in the legal framework. There were new constitutions written after 1960 and 1980 coups, and 2016 defeated coup attempt. Why couldn't they solve the problems of judiciary, do you think?
Let me, as an enthusiastic lawyer, answer your question with an evidence and ask my team to share a diagram based on polity document. As you will see from this document, since the beginning of 1800 years, Turkey has come a long way to develop a Western-style democracy with many ups and downs. I find it very natural in developing a homegrown democracy, but it is needs to be noted that Turkey's democracy is a homegrown one. Although trajectory of democratization in Turkey began to decline in recent years, we should remember that in 2004, the European Commission had qualified Turkey as saying Turkey sufficiently meeting the Copenhagen democratic criteria of the European Union. What happened in 15 years? So we started going down, but I'm sure we're gonna come up. This is because despite all ups and downs, Turkey's democratization cannot be reversed. Because Turkish state has strongly accepted democratic governance, and the people strongly desire to be ruled by democracy with justice and under the rule of law. We have a lot of problems, yes, but these problems emanates from the 1982 constitution that the military rule imposed on society. Yes, the military rule at that time suppressed the anarchy that we were complaining a lot, but with the 1982 constitution, they created more problems. They designed the executive of the state as the strongest and the judiciary as the weakest power, aiming to end the coalitions at that time and creating sustainability for the executive. The military rule gave a political party who earns and garners 35% of the votes, 2/3 of the seats in the parliament.
Yeah.
The 1982 constitution, surprisingly, took the judicial council outside of the Minister of Justice. It was a very good move, but in return, they made the council very much dependent, much more dependent on the Minister of Justice. The minister became a member, and the council could not convene or resolve in absence of the minister and his undersecretary. But the idea of establishing a council is actually to limit the role of the executive over the judiciary. In the past, the judiciary was under the tutelage and control of the military, and nowadays it is under the control of the ruling politicians. Politicians benefit from a faulty system because it gives them control over the judiciary, and they don't want to correct it. And why should they? Yeah. And I think the answer to your question is that they could not solve it. It is not that they could not solve it. It is because they did not want to solve it.
Like conflict of interest problem. So if we keep focused on the judicial branch of the state, reform to the judiciary is key to strengthening Turkey's democracy, as you put it. You mentioned the Council of Judges and Prosecutors earlier, and the tutelage, as well as attempts to control them, formerly military, now political party. Can you expand on who the council are and what role they play? Mehmet.
Well, thank you. That's a very good question. And the Council of Judges and Prosecutors is the body in Turkey that administers the judiciary and justice and courts in Turkey. It promotes discipline and assigns judges and public prosecutors. Well, I need to make a small note that the admissions into profession is done by the Minister of Justice, not by the Council. Yeah. No judicial remedy is available against any of its decisions. And the council is not transparent either. They give reasons if they wish, but normally they never give reasons. The council appoints the members of the Court of Cassation and the State Council and influence the formation of the Supreme Election Council, because these two high courts are representatives form the Supreme Election Council. Supreme Election Council is the one that decided to invalidate the mayoral elections in Istanbul a couple of years ago. Their decision is also close to any judicial remedy. So therefore, you can see that the Council of Judges and Prosecutors in Turkey is at the heart of Turkey's judicial and election system. Therefore,
so let me ask a question here. So it's clear that Judicial Council has incredible power, judges and prosecutors, and they are under the control of the political authority. Can we continue from there?
Yeah, of course. Maybe again, I ask my team to present.
Just to remind.
Yeah, please, if they could, yes. If you could see this from this diagram, you could see from this diagram that the council is in a very complex structure, but it is dependent on the politicians at the end. The Council of Judges and Prosecutors exists in many countries. Though they have different authorities, their common characteristic is that all of them function in a way to limit the executive's role in the judiciary, so that the judges and prosecutors are independent and their work is not interfered by the executive. However, the purpose and composition of the Turkish Council is totally contrary to the original idea. The council is formed in order to control and manage the judges and public prosecutors. And the independence of these professions are left to individuals' integrity and strength. Yeah. It is currently a 30-member body. 7 of its members are appointed by the parliament, which means that the ruling party or the party in majority in the parliament, and 6 of them are appointed by the president. 2 of them are the minister of judges.
We have to remind that ruling party in the parliament or the majority party appoints 7 members, 6 members also by the president, who is also the leader of the majority party in the parliament.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Just the parenthesis.
Yes. You can see from this diagram that actually it goes down to the leader of the political party, knowing that the political parties do not have intra-party democracy, so one man can control the whole judiciary. And it is important to remember that a political party receiving or garnering 35% of the votes is able to control everything.
Yeah. So the political influence on the judiciary has always been a problem, like today. I mean, but it's not particular to today. It has always been like that. And also filling the positions with politically affiliated judges and prosecutors as well. As we have seen in the Gülen case, Fethullah Gülen case, before the 2016 coup attempt, and nowadays in different political forms. Doesn't it boil down to weak separation of powers at the end of the day?
Murat, I need to remind you that the separation of powers is an advancement of the monarchies, and the independence of the judiciary from the executive comes from the times that they were really dependent, and the judges were representatives of the monarch. So we are developing the concept in a way that the monarch's powers have been divided into 3. One of them is the judges that they used to appoint. Now we're talking about independence of the judiciary. So the judiciary is actually what it boils down for the poor design in Turkey. Judiciary is weak, the executive is very strong. And when you put 2 of them together with the other one, when you put 2 of them together, it is a misalignment of powers, and it makes in return, it makes the whole separation is a weak one. Infiltrations into the judiciary is very true, very sad, were due to deficits in the council's weak design. In fact, weakness in design is what is needed for the tutelage that the military rule had established at that time. Both military governments, you and I know very well that both military and civil governments either directly placed their trusted people in the judiciary, or their oversight allowed people with allegiances to religious sects as Trojan horses, or trusted people of others, allowed for infiltration. It was the society knew everything, but it was impossible for the society to intervene and protect the integrity and independence of the Judicial Council.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah.
Because simply because the judiciary lacked transparency and accountability, and these two concrete deficits made it possible for the infiltration and impossible for the people to stop it. You know, first of all, lack of transparency meant that the Judicial Council could arbitrarily and according to the desires of their true rulers decide. And lack of accountability meant that the council could get away with any decision they would make because their decisions were not subject to judicial review. Therefore, you know, I strongly believe, and I think it is the case, that the solution of Turkey's middle democracy problems lies with the solution of the judiciary's weaknesses. Those weaknesses are mainly lack of transparency and accountability.
Yeah, that's quite clear, actually. You have touched upon this issue before during our conversation, but a strong design of judicial powers as we want, as you want, judicial power is good for justice, protection of human rights, freedom of expression, for example, which we need a lot, but it brings limits to the politicians. You mentioned their unwillingness, most of the case. How will that work? Will political forces let it happen?
Well, first of all, Murat, it doesn't mean that if you have good laws and bad judiciary, you end up with a bad result. If you have good judiciary with bad laws, you end up with bad results. Although in Turkey we have substantive laws in place to protect the freedoms, etc., but the judiciary, because it is unable to do its job properly and in its customary practices, actually judiciary restricts the freedoms of people. For example, the infamous judges of criminal judges of peace, they were introduced as guardians of freedoms of the people, but because of their practices and flawed design, they have turned against the freedoms. But the good news I would like to share, Murat, and with the audience is that I observed this day by day during my conferences in Anatolia, that people from all sectors, public, business world, small, medium, large businesses, or ordinary people, really asking for justice, an independent judiciary, and an advanced democracy, irrespective of political party that they support. I mean, this is very strong and very, concrete. However, these people have been asking for this for many years. However, the politicians have not met this desire. Instead, with inaccurate and inappropriate changes they made to the constitution, they only help themselves, not the people. Obviously, how to change it, how to correct this, you need volunteers. And in a democracy, it is the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are actually the institutional volunteers. And I'm very happy to be involved in this work that, Better Justice Association that I'm leading as chairman and the two CONFED together volunteer to address this issue and come up with a solution that will address, if realized, fully what public really wants and desires. We have already received strong approval on our proposal in Turkey. Our judicial structural reform conferences throughout Anatolia were well attended, although the matter was very boring. People listened very carefully for maybe 1.5 hours. And in an internal survey within the TürkConfed, it was voted the top approved activity of TürkConfed. I would like to say, I believe in my people, I believe in my country, that when we demonstrate to those ordinary people the connection between a good paying job, prosperity, and rule of law and advanced democracy, they will follow it. They will ask the politicians, and the politicians will realize at the end that it is good for them actually to make the judiciary independent. They will do a better job if they agree to make it.
Yeah, so together with volunteers and civil society, at the end, you're going to go to the parliament, to the politicians, and explain that. Then we come to the million-dollar question. What are you going to tell them? What's your solution for the judicial problems in Turkey?
Murat, actually, the answer is not worth million, but it is worth billions and billions, because it is going to allow Turkey to realize its full potential. And realizing the full potential will bring billions and billions to Turkish society and Turkish state. When we go to the politicians and to the public, we need to have a solution available, and we need to be able to explain that we are not there simply making empty promises, but we have a concrete proposal. And for this, we need to first of all identify the areas of problem. Let me tell you, summarize of my answers to your questions. Turkey's problems is A, lack of attention to production of good quality service. Nobody paid attention to producing good service to the society. And what we are talking about, and everybody knows, that the separation of the judiciary as an independent power and independent of the executive and the legislator. And in order to identify this problem, we say that it is the composition and the control of the Council for Judges and Prosecutors. But when we go to there, then we come across this question: accountability, transparency, and we have to acknowledge that they don't work, they don't exist, because there is infiltration. And we are all saying that the role of Minister of Justice must be limited and eliminated from the judiciary, but no one has come with a concrete idea. The billions of dollars answer here is that we have, as members of the Better Justice Association, some of them, the team that prepared the proposal, are here listening to our conversation. We have come up with a concrete solution. That concrete solution you can see in these two diagrams. The one on the left is the current one. The one on the right is By the way,
Mr. Gün, there are questions asking whether can we share these diagrams after the meeting with the participants? Will that be okay?
Sure. Better Justice's social media accounts and mine already have these in place,
okay.
But we'll share them. We'll share them also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Please go on.
The proposal that we have developed, you can see the improvements if you simply look at these two diagrams on the left and on the right. The right one that is what we are proposing. So we are proposing a system that focuses on the production of good quality services to the society. That is the first one. And the second one, to be able to do that, transform the Judicial Council into a new body that we may call it Supreme Authority of Justice, as a regulatory body, to regulate the production of judicial services so they are in good quality, and align the service providers accordingly. And we propose, and this has been a discussion in a number of years, not only in Turkey, but all over Europe and other democratic countries, that the judicial service providers must have their own organizations, they must form their own management, and nobody should interfere with that. We are proposing here to allow all the service providers, judges, prosecutors, and lawyers to have their fully independent professional organizations and focus on production of good quality service to the society. We have said that there are a lot of accountability and transparency issues, and we need to make this whole system fully accountable. So we need to create a court, a specialized court, dealing with all issues relating to the judiciary. And we need to make that every acts and decisions of the judiciary, and also in relation to the judiciary, subject to judicial review. And only if we can do this, then we can transfer all the responsibilities of Minister of Justice to this authority without creating such a structure. Simply saying that we want the Minister of Justice to stop from interfering is only a wish, and it is not going to come true. Yeah. Let me just strongly state something here, not only for Turkey, but for all democratic countries trying to improve their judiciary. It is my strong view, very strong view, that the service providers, the production of legal services must be the priority. All nations put as a first aim the good quality service production from the system. It is fatally inappropriate to mix and confuse the independence of judges and prosecutors and good quality service production, because independence doesn't mean that they will produce good quality service. Turkey experienced this in 1980, 1970, and 1980, a little bit longer. France still lives with the fear of the state of judges, because when you give independence and the privileges to the judges and prosecutors, they do not necessarily produce good result. They look after themselves, and usually unaccountable organizations like this result in sluggishness, arbitrariness, and even abuses. We have seen examples in Turkey, in France, in other countries. So, if we put the production of good quality service to the society, then we find the solution, and the solution comes very easy. Also, when they talk about judicial councils, they mean that judiciary means judges and prosecutors only. It is so wrong. Judges and prosecutors, without pushing and triggering of the lawyers, cannot produce good service, cannot produce any service. So any system must involve all of them without compromising their independence into the system. So I strongly advise that that the whole world, makes the judiciary as a good service provider and earning the independence, but through accountability. My book is called Middle Democracy Issues. Mm-hmm. What I'm talking about is the judiciary. You know why, Murat? Because
I'm curious. Please tell us.
Yeah. Because judiciary is one of the three powers in any democracy, and the best of a democracy is actually when they provided full separation of powers. But exactly. They have been messing around. I'm sorry for my strong language, but they have been messing around through the independence of judges and prosecutors. But in all countries, including the UK, in Germany, in France, in Italy also, the executive is one way or the other is involved in the judiciary. Why don't we make it independent? I think the proposal that we are coming is the way to make the judiciary truly independent and fully accountable. Once you do that, once you identify, once you separate the judiciary from the other two powers of the state, you have a perfect separation of powers. And that is a perfect democracy. And the key for this is actually starting with aiming to produce good service to the society, making the service providers accountable, and regulating the whole system in a way that they deserve independence. You see that no one, even private life, no one deserves independence and unaccountability unless they provide good services to the society. And the key is actually...
So we're talking about, at the end, independence with transparency and accountability. Is that right?
Yeah. Production of good service,
yes,
accountability, transparency, and then independence. Without proving that the judiciary, judges, prosecutors, and lawyers, that they will serve the public in the best manner that they deserve, they are not going to be given independence. This is what has happened in Turkey. Because judiciary did not provide good service, and we see this backlog of cases, thousands and thousands. Nobody defends the judiciary. But if they were, delivering justice within a couple of months in all simple cases, everybody would go and support the judges and the judiciary.
Yeah. This is in the long run, it's in the advantage of politicians if they can see this, because better justice, I mean, we all need better justice. Politicians need better justice too. So it's in the whole society's advantage. Mr. Gün, thank you very much for this very detailed and mind-opening, I would say, conversation.